What happens when the most consistent driver of the season suddenly loses control? Can a championship lead of 31 points evaporate in a single qualifying session? And why did McLaren's bid for back-to-back constructors' titles turn into a weekend of survival at the worst possible moment? Oscar Piastri's crash in Q3 at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix wasn't just another barrier kiss. It was the moment when cracks finally appeared in what had seemed like an unbreakable championship campaign. The Australian, who has built his entire 2025 season on ice-cold precision and flawless execution, found himself in the wall at turn 3 with pole position slipping away. For a driver described as composed under pressure all year long, it was a shocking vulnerability that has left the entire paddock scrambling to understand what went wrong. But here's what makes this crash truly significant. It wasn't an isolated incident. According to detailed race reports, Piastri's weekend was plagued by problems from the very first session. Power unit issues forced him into the garage just as Friday practice began, robbing him of crucial track time on Baku's unforgiving streets. When he returned, he clipped the wall, unsettling his rhythm before the weekend had properly started. The pattern continued in FP2, where telemetry data revealed a deeper story of inconsistency and instability. As race analysis shows, the car felt twitchy on entry and unpredictable over bumps, with every setup adjustment opening new questions rather than providing answers. Even when Piastri showed flashes of his usual brilliance, finishing second in FP1, the underlying fragility was building toward an inevitable climax. The evidence had stacked against him by qualifying time. McLaren was desperately searching for balance while Piastri pushed through increasingly tricky conditions. That fragility finally broke in Q3, when, with pole position on the line, the rear of his McLaren stepped out in turn 3, and the margin for error simply disappeared. But the real story isn't just about one crash. It's about timing that couldn't be more dangerous for his championship hopes. 31 points might sound like a comfortable lead over Lando Norris, but Formula One has a brutal way of making advantages vanish overnight. One retirement, one safety car gamble gone wrong, one mistake exactly like this one, and suddenly the entire title fight is wide open again. For the first time this season, Piastri will start outside the top 4, surrounded by midfield chaos and the constant threat of being caught in someone else's accident. The weekend delivered unprecedented chaos across all 3 qualifying sessions. According to race reports from Azerbaijan, the session featured 6 red flags, establishing a new record for a qualifying session in Formula One history. The carnage began early when Alex Albon miscalculated turn 1 just 6 minutes into Q1, breaking his front left suspension and ending Williams' weekend before it properly started. Nico Hülkenberg followed suit at turn 4, sliding into the barriers and losing his front wing. But the most dramatic moment came when Franco Colapinto suffered a massive frontal impact in the same corner, creating a scene of destruction that eliminated both Alpine cars in spectacular fashion. Pierre Gasly would finish 19th, Colapinto 16th, a complete disaster for a team that needed points. Q2 brought no relief. Oliver Behrman became the 4th red flag victim when he touched the barriers at turn 2. His Haas suffering suspension damage that ended his session with a radio message full of frustration. "Sorry guys, what a stupid mistake." The session's biggest casualty was Lewis Hamilton. As reported in race analysis, the 7-time champion was caught out when Charles Leclerc triggered yellow flags ahead of him, forcing Hamilton to abort his flying lap. Despite improving to 10th initially, late improvements from other drivers pushed him down to 12th, his 5th Q2 elimination in 17 races this season, raising serious questions about Ferrari's performance under pressure. When Q3 finally arrived, light rain began falling, making the already treacherous circuit even more dangerous. Carlos Sainz initially grabbed provisional pole with Williams, before Charles Leclerc crashed his Ferrari heavily at turn 15, bringing out the 5th red flag and deepening Ferrari's misery. Then came the moment that could reshape the entire championship fight. With just over 3 minutes remaining and the track slowly drying, Piastri emerged as the last of 9 remaining drivers. But instead of delivering the clinical lap that has defined his season, he braked too late for turn 3, went straight into the barriers, and triggered the 6th red flag of the session. The crash wasn't just physically damaging, It was psychologically devastating. For a driver who has thrived on consistency all year, this represented uncharted territory. According to paddock reports, his frustration was visible as he hit the steering wheel, knowing the magnitude of what had just happened. Max Verstappen capitalized perfectly, delivering a surgical lap worth 141.117 to claim his first Baku pole position. The demonstration of pressure driving excellence put him in prime position to steal crucial championship points, while McLaren's drivers struggled with their internal battle. The implications extend far beyond one race result. McLaren came to Baku on the brink of securing back-to-back Constructors' Championships, but instead of celebration, they face a weekend of survival. Piastri's crash has shifted the spotlight entirely, with questions about team dynamics inevitably resurfacing after the controversial Monza decisions earlier this season. The most revealing part about this crash is what it exposes about pressure at the highest level. Piastri has been brutally honest about his tricky moments throughout the weekend, a phrase that masks the depth of challenges he's faced. Beneath his calm delivery lies the awareness that championship leads can disappear rapidly, and he's now in precisely that vulnerable position. Starting further back in Baku is particularly dangerous because this circuit doesn't allow for calm recovery drives. Safety cars, red flags, and midfield chaos can upend the best laid plans. Every overtaking attempt carries disaster risk. Every lap behind slower cars threatens tire overheating. And every pit stop becomes a potential championship turning point. Lando Norris finds himself in 7th place, ahead of his teammate but not in the commanding position this opportunity demanded. If he capitalizes while Piastri struggles, critics will inevitably point to team politics and question McLaren's fairness. If Piastri fights back successfully, he strengthens his claim as a driver who refuses to be broken by mistakes, pressure, or chaos. The championship math is suddenly much more interesting. With Max Verstappen lurking in the background, thriving in exactly these conditions where others falter, both McLaren drivers are under immense pressure to deliver clean races. One more slip could invite the reigning champion back into serious contention. What makes Piastri's situation so compelling isn't anger or drama. It's the quiet recognition of reality from someone who understands the stakes. He insists positives exist, that pace remains, that recovery is possible. But he also admits the uncomfortable truth. It's been tricky, it's been frustrating, and it's left him more vulnerable than at any point in 2025. The crash wasn't just a dent in Baku's barriers, it was a dent in the aura of invincibility Piastri had built. Now, as he prepares to fight back from deeper in the field, the world watches to see whether he can transform frustration into resilience, or whether this weekend will be remembered as the moment when the championship began slipping through his fingers.